The Black Fog of Phalut and the British Map. Because the summit of Phalut is completely open, the weather can change within seconds. Local people call it the Enchanted Mountain. Among old Land Rover drivers, a frightening story is told about one of Phallut's most infamous weather phenomena, the Black Fog. During the 1970s, a Bengali geography professor and researcher named Ronan Sen came alone to Phalut. He carried a 19th-century British map. His goal was to find ancient lost routes of the Singalila mountain range. Local guides repeatedly warned him. They said that no matter what the map showed, the old routes of Phalut were now closed. A special kind of dense black fog appeared there and caused people to lose their way. But Ronan Babu was a rational man and did not believe those stories. One afternoon, while standing on the open land of Phalut and studying his map with a compass, something strange happened. A mysterious fog rushed in from the north near Kanchenjunga. This fog was not white, it was dark gray and almost black. Within moments, the afternoon light turned into midnight darkness. Even the beam of Ronan Babu's torch could not penetrate the black fog. Suddenly, he heard the sound of heavy boots walking directly behind him. Frightened, he called out, "Who is there?" "Dorji." "Pemba." No answer came. Instead, a whispering English voice emerged from the fog. "You are searching for the wrong path." "My friend, the correct path is on my map." Startled, Ronan Babu turned his torch toward the voice. He saw a tall British gentleman standing before him. Formed entirely from fog, the man wore an old British Army uniform, but he had no face. Only swirling mist occupied the place where his face should have been. The gentleman extended a piece of paper toward him. It looked exactly like Ronan Babu's own map. But it was much older and yellowed with age. Under a strange spell, Ronan Babu stretched out his hand to take the map. The moment his fingers touched the fog-made map, he felt as if he had touched ice at -50 degrees. A sharp pain shot through his body. He screamed. He felt the black fog wrapping around him like a giant snake. It seemed to be pulling all the air out of his lungs. At that very moment, he heard the sound of the generator from the main trekker's hut in Phalut. He also heard people shouting. The locals had come searching for him. As soon as the light and human voices reached the area, the black fog and the British soldier vanished into the air. They disappeared in a single second. When Ronan Babu was rescued, he was lying unconscious on the barren, snowless ground of Phalut. His modern map had mysteriously burned to ashes, and on the palm of his hand remained a frostburn mark. The mark looked exactly like an old British seal. Later, Ronan Babu wrote in his diary, "The black fog of Phalut is a living entity. It keeps the dead people of history alive even today. Even today, people and trekkers don't follow that old forbidden route." The mysterious eagle of Srikhola. When trekkers descend from Phalut, they reach a mountain river flowing through the heart of the dense Singalila forest. The river is called Srikhola. There is a hanging wooden bridge across this river. According to the local Bhutia people, an ancient supernatural power lives where the forest and river meet. Many years ago, a young Sherpa from Gorky village, named Paong, was returning from Phalut. He stopped to rest beneath a large oak tree in the forest near Srikhola. Suddenly, he noticed a giant mountain eagle sitting on the top of the tree, but there was something strange about it. A shining Tibetan crystal prayer beads necklace was hanging around its neck. Such beads are normally used by Buddhist lamas. Greed entered Pasang's mind. He thought that if he could take the crystal beads and sell them in the Darjeeling market, he would earn a lot of money. He took a slingshot from his bag and threw a stone at the eagle. The stone struck the eagle's wing. The bird cried out in pain and fell to the ground. Paong ran to it and snatched the prayer beads from its neck. Then he left the injured eagle behind and ran toward the river bridge. When he reached the middle of the wooden hanging bridge of Srikhola, something strange happened. Although it was afternoon, darkness suddenly covered everything. The calm river suddenly became wild. It crashed against the rocks as if driven by an unknown anger. Paong saw that there was no road on the other side of the bridge. there was only a wall of thick black mist. Suddenly, a deep booming voice came from directly above him. "Pong. You have harmed the spirit of a sacred tantric master. These prayer beads are not meant to be stolen by humans." Terrified, Pong looked up. He saw the injured eagle floating in the air, but now its wings were 30 feet long. Its eyes were shooting sparks of fire. In fear, Pong threw the prayer beads into the river. Then he tried to run back across the bridge, but the bridge seemed endless. No matter how fast he ran, he could not reach the end. Suddenly, a powerful gust of wind struck him. It threw him over the bridge railing, but he did not fall into the river. Instead, he landed beneath the same oak tree where he had first seen the eagle. Everything around him was normal again. Bright sunlight filled the forest, but Pong noticed something terrible. His right hand, the hand he had used to throw the stone, had become completely numb. Its skin had become rough like bird feathers. When villagers found him, Pong was trembling with fear. He was never able to use his right hand again. Local people say that many of the animals and birds roaming the forests of Srikhola are actually the rebirths of ancient lamas. If anyone harms them, nature never forgives. The haunted inn of Sabargram and the Old Lantern. On the route from Sandakphu to Phalut, there is a very lonely and rugged place called Sabargram. During winter, when snow falls there, the entire area becomes completely silent. A story about a Land Rover driver's experience in the mist-covered wilderness of Sabargram is still very popular in the mountains. About 30 years ago, when the old Land Rover vehicles regularly traveled from Manapanjan to Phalut, an experienced driver, named Dawa Sherpa, got stranded in Sabargram. One winter evening, while returning from Phalut, the engine of his vehicle suddenly broke down. The temperature was below freezing, and heavy snowfall had begun. If he stayed inside the vehicle, he risked freezing to death. So, carrying a torch, Dawa Sherpa began walking through the mist in search of shelter. After walking some distance, he was surprised to see an old two-story wooden inn standing on the barren land of Sabargram. A faint yellow light was shining through its windows. Dawa had traveled this route many times before. As far as he knew, there had never been any inn there, but to save his life, he did not think much about it. He went to the door and knocked. The door was opened by an old man wearing an old British-era coat, holding a lantern. The old man invited Dawa inside. The inside of the inn was warm. A fire was burning in the fireplace. The old man gave Dawa a cup of hot tea and some soup. Dawa was very tired. After eating, he fell asleep on a wooden chair beside the fire. While sleeping, he felt that the surroundings were becoming colder and colder. The warmth of the fire seemed to disappear. The freezing cold woke him up. When he opened his eyes, the sight before him froze the blood in his veins. Where was the inn? Where was the fireplace? He was lying under the open sky on the snow-covered ruins of an ancient stone structure in Sabargram. There were no wooden walls. There was no roof above him. As he stood up and removed his blanket, he noticed something at his feet. An extremely old, rusty British-era lantern was lying there. Although it was no longer burning, its glass was still slightly warm. Terrified, Dawa Sherpa ran back to his Land Rover. At dawn, another vehicle arrived and rescued him. Later, elderly villagers told him a strange story. In the 1940s, a British explorer became trapped in a snowstorm at Sabargram and died there. Since then, every winter, on misty nights, his spirit creates an imaginary inn to shelter lost travelers, but before sunrise, the magical illusion disappears. The Strange Hunter of Tinpukuri. On the route to Phalut in Singalila National Park, there is a small pond called Tinpukuri by the local people. A strange superstition is connected with this pond. People say that on the night of a new moon, no reflection of the moon or stars can be seen in its water. Instead, a supernatural scene appears. Many years ago, A hunter named Namgyal from Gorky village went to Tinpukuri on a new moon night to hunt deer. He ignored the rules of the forest. According to an ancient mountain tradition, carrying any metal weapon or bow into the Singalila forest on a new moon night was forbidden, but Namgyal did not listen. He hid behind a large oak tree near the pond and waited. As the night became deeper, the atmosphere around him became strangely silent. Suddenly, he saw a huge black deer come to drink water from the other side of the pond. Its antlers shone like diamonds. Unable to control his greed, Namgyal aimed his gun and fired. Bang! The bullet hit the deer directly in the chest, but strangely, no blood came out. The deer did not fall to the ground. Instead, it burst into laughter with a human voice. The sound of that laughter seemed to shake the entire Singalila forest. Frozen with fear, Namgyal watched as the deer's skin began to peel away. From inside emerged a gigantic shadowy figure. Its head was covered with tangled hair. Its eyes glowed red like burning coal. It was the forestman of Singalila, the guardian of the forest. In a deep voice, the figure said, "Namgyal, today you have harmed a creature that you were never meant to see. You will carry the punishment of your greed for the rest of your life." Terrified, Namgyal dropped his gun and ran, but no matter how far he ran, the path never ended. Again and again, he found himself returning to the shore of Tinpukuri. It was like being trapped in a maze. Suddenly, he felt his own body beginning to change. His hands turned into hooves. Antlers grew from his head. He himself became a deer. The next morning, Namgyal's companions went searching for him. Near Tinpukuri, they found his gun and clothes. But Namgyal was never seen again. Even today, trekkers passing by Tinpukuri late at night hear the cry of a strange deer. The sound resembles the crying of a human being. The invisible flute of Lilith Forest. On the route from Sandakphu to Phalut lies a very dense and misty forest. Many people call it Lilith Forest or Mayaban, the enchanted forest. The oak and rhododendron trees there grow so closely together that even during the daytime, sunlight cannot reach the ground. Among the mountain people, a mysterious story about an invisible flute is very popular. Once, a group of 5 college friends started for Phalut without a guide. They thought the route was easy and that they did not need a guide. Around noon, while they were passing through the middle of Lilith Forest, a thick white mist suddenly covered everything. Visibility dropped to almost zero. They realized they had wandered away from the main trail and entered deep into the forest. At that moment, a very sweet mountain flute melody floated through the mist. The tune was so attractive that all their fear disappeared instantly. The leader of the group, Bikram, said, "It must be a local shepherd or guide playing the flute. Let's follow the sound. They will show us the way." The 4 friends followed the flute music into the mist, but the only girl in the group, Ria, was a little behind. Suddenly she felt something strange. Although the flute melody was sweet, it carried a strange monotony, as if someone was trying to hypnotize them. Ria noticed that her friend's eyes had become fixed like stone. Without speaking a word, they were walking mechanically deeper into the forest. Ria shouted for Bikram to stop, but nobody listened to her. The forest became even denser. The branches of the trees seemed to stretch out like hands, trying to trap them. Suddenly, Ria saw a steep mountain cliff beneath her feet. She immediately understood the truth. The flute music was not leading them toward a road. It was leading them directly toward the edge of a deadly cliff. Without wasting another second, Ria pulled out a prayer flag from her bag. She had bought it in Sandakphu. The flag carried a Tibetan sacred mantra. As she loudly chanted, "Om Mani Padme Hum," she ran toward her friends and grabbed Bikram's hand tightly. As the mantra echoed through the air, the flute melody suddenly changed into a horrifying scream. The mist seemed to struggle violently and then vanished like burning camphor. Bikram and the others awoke as if from a deep sleep. They realized that they were only one step away from falling into a 1,000-foot deep gorge. Looking ahead, they saw a strange sight. On a tree branch across the gorge, an ugly mountain bamboo branch was swaying by itself in the wind. The eerie sound had been coming from there. The enchanted forests of Singalila lure lonely travelers toward death in this way. Without wasting any time, the friends ran back and somehow found the main trail. The mysterious Liahumi and the white bear. Near Kanchenjunga, deep inside the rhododendron forests around Phalut, there is an ancient mountain belief. The local people believe that a mysterious goddess lives in a certain part of the forest. They call her Liahumi, the queen of the forest. She protects the endangered animals of the forest, but if a human enters the forest with greed in his heart, the consequences can be terrible. Many years ago, a woodcutter and hunter named Tenzing from Gorki village entered the forbidden forest of Phalut. During winter, the wood from this forest could be sold for a very high price. Because of this, Tenzing went deep into the forest carrying his axe. While cutting wood, he suddenly saw a strange sight. A huge snow-white mountain bear lay injured on the snow. It was groaning in pain. A poisonous arrow was stuck in its back. Perhaps it had been shot by a poacher. The skin of a white bear was extremely valuable. Tenzing gripped his axe tightly and thought, the bear is going to die. Anyway, if I kill it now and take its skin, I can earn a lot of money in the town market. The moment he raised his axe, a strange rustling sound came from the pine and oak trees around him. Suddenly, a thick mist covered the entire forest. A circle of mysterious light appeared before him. From the center of the light emerged an unbelievably beautiful mountain woman. Her hair was silver in color. She wore ancient Tibetan royal clothing. A supernatural fragrance surrounded her. She was Liahumi. Looking at Tenzing, the goddess spoke in a calm but serious voice. Tenzing, human greed has no end. This creature is under my protection. Do not dare to harm it, under her spell. Tenzing replied, but I am a poor woodcutter. This bear's skin can bring me a lot of money. Liahumi smiled. As soon as she touched the bear, the arrow came out by itself. The wound healed magically. The bear stood up and bowed its head at the goddess's feet. Then Liahumi looked at Tenzing and said, anyone who does not respect the kindness of nature cannot escape nature's anger. The goddess and the white bear disappeared into the mist, but Tenzing noticed something terrifying. The axe he was holding had become permanently attached to his hand. No matter how hard he tried, he could not remove it. Not only that, he completely lost his way in the forest. For 3 days, he wandered through the forests of Phalut like a man trapped in a maze. He had no food and no water. On the 4th day, when villagers finally rescued him, he was half mad, although they somehow removed the axe from his hand. The fingers of both his hands had become permanently numb. He was never able to hold an axe or a gun again. Even today, local guides say that if you find an injured animal in the forests of Phalut, you should help it. If you harm it instead, the curse of Liahumi will fall upon you.
If you like this video, then please subscribe and press the bell button so that you can get the notification of next videos early. Kindly share this video more and more. Maybe this video become useful for few people.